Greetings, our Frederick Riddle here with another episode of Christian News and Views. This is episode 256, and this is Monday. Well, Monday starts out the new week, and we already have two failures, really, two different peace processes interrupted, and we'll take a quick look at them. First of all, we'll take a look at Israel. Israel launched waves of lethal airstrikes yesterday and cut off all aid into Gaza until further notice, after a reported attack by Hamas, and escalations that mark the most serious threat so far to the increasingly fragile ceasefire. Two Israeli soldiers, including an officer, were killed in a Hamas attack. Palestinian officials said at least 28 people died in the retaliatory airstrikes. Israeli fire also killed 30 people near the ceasefire line on Monday, medics said. A senior Egyptian official said round the clock contacts were underway in an effort to de escalate the situation as regional powers scrambled to shore up the ceasefire. Hopes rose that a complete collapse could be avoided after Hamas and the Israeli military issued statements that said they were committed to the agreement. What is the U.S. doing to help maintain that ceasefire? Well, senior U.S. officials, possibly including the Vice President J.D. Vance, are expected to arrive in Israel in the coming days for what observers said was a clear effort to hold the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to the deal signed in Sharm el-Sheikh, Egypt, earlier this month. Okay, now moving on. Now we go to the Ukraine. Donald Trump has suggested the best way to end the war in Ukraine would be to cut up the country's Donbas region in a way that would leave most of it under Russian control after reportedly pushing his Ukrainian counterpart, Vladimir Zelensky, at a White House meeting to give up swaths of territory. Let it be cut the way it is, Trump told reporters on board Air Force One yesterday. It's cut up right now, he said, and the region could be left the way it was today. They can negotiate something later on down the line, he said. But for now, both sides of the conflict should stop at the battle line. Go home, stop fighting, stop killing people. What happened in the meeting with Zelensky? Well, Ukraine's president had flown to Washington hoping to capitalize on Trump's growing frustration with Vladimir Putin after the summit in Alaska failed to produce a breakthrough in the war. But Zelensky left the U.S. empty-handed, failing to secure long-range Tomahawk cruise missiles after weeks of lobbying. So what's going on here? Well, here's my opinion. You have two pieces of news and two different wars and their peace initiatives. Now, as a president seeking to resolve these wars, President Trump is traveling a bumpy road, a road pockmarked with victories and defeats. In Israel, he is discovering what he already knew, namely that Hamas cannot be trusted. They will make agreements and they will violate them when they think it is to their advantage to do so. They hope that Israel and the United States will grow weary, thereby ultimately giving them the victory. The only way I see to unseat them and destroy them is to exercise unity, the United States and Israel, and respond with a tough response as they have done. It's tragic, it's lethal, it means people die, but it seems to be the only argument that Hamas recognizes. And so we'll see how that peace holds. It's going to be very fragile, and it could, over time, be something that will actually take place. Remembering, as I've said before, final ultimate victory only comes when the Lord returns. Let's move over to the Ukraine. My opinion there is I believe dividing the nation up is a mistake. Russia won't be fully appeased until they have achieved all their goals. Now, at the same time that I say that, I also recognize the logic behind the president's proposal. A ceasefire in place, which is basically what he's talking about, will effectively divide the nation and provide a sense of peace, but it will be a false peace. So that is basically what it comes down to. As far as the Ukraine goes, uh, he doesn't want to get, he's not going to send troops in. We know that. More armaments in there. He has to be, I think he has to be convinced that it will make a significant difference. Russia right now holds, I guess you could say, they hold the high ground. Uh, but the Ukrainians have shown that they are much stronger, more maneuverable, more innovative than the Russians thought they were. And it has created a problem that the Russians simply have not been able to resolve. So a ceasefire in place kind of gives Putin a sense of victory. It's not really victory, but it would give him a sense of victory, and he would get a portion of the land he's in control of right now. Uh, but the thing is this that um, first of all, I don't think Putin is going to agree to that. He wants too much. He wants total victory, and he thinks he can get it. And he will therefore still stall, do everything he can. I think there's a possibility here that this will fall into the benefit of the Ukrainians because their winter is coming on, and so there won't be much in the way of fighting going on. They'll be able to strengthen their positions, bring in new armaments and stuff like that, and maybe, just maybe, and the history does show that they're capable of this. When the winter comes to a close, they can launch an attack against Russia, and if they can get one that's fast and lethal, they might be able to turn the tables on them and push them back out. They have done this in the past, pushed them back in the springs. And then the big deal, the big problem they had is having the right amount of weapons, the right weapons, and the right amount of them in place and usable. But there has to be a constant supply, and this is where the United States comes in, as well as NATO. And so it's a test of resolve there that I think will, if the United States will continue to provide the weapons and so forth, and let them build them up and have a reserve, perhaps, um, and even give them the tomahawks. I think that will make a huge difference. So we have two different wars. We have two different situations. Both are similar in that both are testing Trump. I think he's up to it. He's definitely shown that he's capable of doing things, and he has been capable of also of demonstrating to Putin. Now, Putin can be kind of dense. He is so fully emotionally involved in this. He wants the empire, the Soviet Union, which would be what I'm referring to as empire, to be restored. That means if you carry this to its ultimate conclusion, that means that not only Ukraine falls, but the other nations which separated themselves and became independent, they too would then be brought in forcibly if necessary. And that's his plan. And so giving him any kind of peace, giving him any kind of uh, sense of success, sense of victory is only going to sort of like feeding the monster. And so I think that that's a mistake. At the same time, Trump might be playing the long game here with the idea of buying time so the Ukrainians can mount an attack that will win. I think he's slowly getting to the point where he's seeing Putin as an impossible partner in peace. He's seeing him as what he is, a monster, perhaps an insane monster, and they're the worst kind. And so how this all plays out, I don't know. but I do think that they got to be treading very carefully over this ground. Be very careful about what they offer, and because if Russia accepts it, then they're kind of locked in, and then Russia will again come spring. I don't know when their winter starts, but our winter's not too far away, so their winter starts soon, and they when that normally because of that, all the equipment and everything comes to a stop, tanks and things of this nature, and so the battle lines will be hardened, so to speak. And then when spring comes, both nations will be thinking of going on the aggressive. So we'll just have to see how that goes. These are trying times. These are testing times for Trump. I do believe that he's capable of overcoming them, but it's going to be some further testing on his part. Um, and other nations as well. In Israel, many of the surrounding nations are trying to make sure this ceasefire works. And if they're truly committed to that process, I think they can bring it, they can bring some very strong influence down upon Hamas. Well, that's it for today. I hope you've enjoyed this, and I hope that this has been giving you something to think about. As always, I try to inform you, encourage you, and inspire you. Hopefully, that this is giving you something to chew on, think about, and even comment about. I'm always interested in your comments. Well, you have a great day, and I will see you in the next episode.